What's up, guys? This is Bus Saiyan Just Saiyan coming at you with another video. We're going to be talking about the good old Decipher Star Wars collectible card game. There's been a lot of, well, fairly a lot of buzz around this card game recently on YouTube since we've seen some video coming up here and there about all sorts of nostalgic card games and stuff like that. So I thought that still, even after all these years, nobody's really talking about how to get into, deck building for beginners. It's fairly difficult to get into the game. There are still tournaments. Obviously, the committee is still keeping the card game alive. We've got virtual sets being revised. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can go with. I am just going to show you guys my my light side quiet mining colony deck. I'm not going to go through the whole deck, but I do want to highlight a couple of very important things if you want to get into this card game. And I'm only talking about the cards that you can obviously buy online, get on eBay, maybe Amazon. Best luck is probably going on Facebook and joining groups and looking for cards, singles and stuff like that. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of conversations I had in the past couple of months about the card game being very difficult to play, which is true. I'm not going to deny that it is very difficult to play. But you can get around that if you do a little bit of digging. So I will go all the way to the Death Star 2 and onwards era when we got the reflections, and then we started to get the episode 1 cards. By then, I think the card game was. The card game was always fun for the right audience, but we have this tendency to compare old card games to new card games, which is not fair on the old ones, obviously. If you look at this particular card game, it came out in '95. Very, very, very different sort of era of card games. Still a lot of exploration, still a lot of experimentation as to what a card game should be like. I mean, if we look at Magic the Gathering, that was, a lot of the mechanics can be and are nowadays sad to be very outdated, like the land system, the mana system, and a lot of people don't like it. So I don't think it's fair on these card games to be compared to new card games, but I'm digressing. Back to my point. Let's have a look at a couple of cards, what and why they can make your deck function better. So the first and foremost thing I should say is it's the card game at its basic rule set allows you to have a starting location. However, rather than running a starting location, you can also choose an objective card, and you can tell what an objective card is because it is a purple bordered card that has two sides, and one side will have 0, the other one has a 7 on the top right corner. This is normally the destiny value. It's very rare that these cards will use their destiny values. I tend to call this card and another couple of cards part of your starting stack. Let's have a look at this card. So this is the Quiet Mining Colony. This deck is well known as the QMC deck. What you do is read the card because it explains the card. Deploy Bespin system and 1 Cloud City Battleground site. So immediately, you by sacrificing your starting location and running an objective, you are still allowed to have basically a starting location and an additional site to that. Now, Battleground side is any side that has a force icon on both sides. So if we have a look at, for example, the Cloud City Docking Bay, very importantly, it is a Battleground side because you have a force icon there for light side and you have a force icon there for dark side. You can literally start the game with having Bespin out and having your Docking Bay out for Bespin. Now, I'm going to come back to docking bays in a second because, again, if you're new to the game, docking bays are one of the most important locations that you want to run in your deck. So we can have we can have Bespin and a Cloud City Battleground side. Again, that doesn't have to be the it doesn't have to be the did I press record? I did. Doesn't have to be the docking bay. It can be, as I said, any side that has 4 seconds of side. And it says while this side up, once during each of your deploy phases, you may use one force to deploy a site or cloud sector or Bespin from your reserve deck. Reshuffle. So that's really good. Once per turn, you can spend one force from your active force pile, and you can basically search your deck for literally any Bespin location, any site really that can go to Bespin, which is really cool. And now I'm going to talk about it. One of the biggest problems with this game, particularly, is when you flip locations for your destiny draws. All locations have a destiny value of 0. They haven't got a destiny number, as you can see, which means they are 0. To look at a destiny number, here is our starting interrupt, which has a destiny value of 3. So there's 2 things that would happen in the early sets when you play this game. If you haven't got sort of any ways to bring out your sites, is you either get too many of them and you start to flip them for your destiny draws, which is not good, or you don't get any besides your starting location, and then that would mean that you can't really expand on what you're trying to do with your deck, and then you get into problems like that. So to get around that, a lot of decks will be, obviously, as I'm explaining, using a objective, and of course a lot of decks will be using a starting interrupt, which will also allow you to get out a couple of different things depending from the interrupt. I'm just gonna show you one of the most famous ones, and then those effects that your starting interrupt brings out will also allow you to get more sites out and search your deck for different stuff. But back to QMC. So we get those effects, and then also we get opponent loses no more than one force from each of your force drains and Bespin locations. And this is a drawback, but it's not a massive one anyway, because what you want to do is get to the point where you can flip this card. And early game, your force drains, unless you got a way to really emphasize early game force drain, which it's not really gonna happen. Certainly not, not in the actual printed sets. I don't know really what's happening in the world of virtual cards. And then the flip condition. Flip this card if opponent controls no Bespin locations, which means your opponent can't have any. They can't control. You don't need to control, but you need to contest at least. And you control Bespin Cloud City and at least 2 Cloud City sites. Okay, so we need to control Cloud City and 2 Cloud City sites. Now remember, this card will allow you to pull out anything you need for this card to flip. Then we flipped it and we got independent operations. Now, this is where normally you want to be. While this side up, your aliens, cloud cars, and independent starships are immune to attrition less than 4, which is really good. At each Bespin location you control with an alien, your force drains may not be modified or cancelled by your opponent. Your independent starships are deploy -1, very good. Once during each of your deploy phases, you may deploy 1 docking bay from reserve deck and reshuffle. Now, flip this card if opponent controls Bespin system or 3 Cloud City sites and or Bespin Cloud sectors. So there is a way to flip this card back, and if Bespin gets blown away, which is your Death Star super laser deck that can blow away locations, then you place this card out of play. Very unlikely for that to happen, but they thought about it. This game is very granular. Either way, super duper stuff to benefit us. Now let's see. So when you're building a deck, one of the first things that is advisable to do is pick your objective and build around that. So immediately with this one, we want to have a lot of Cloud City based stuff. and it's gonna be super within context because it's very movie specific. Obviously, we can have Lando Calrissian, we can have Lobot, we can have bounty hunters arriving to Bespin, we can have Millennium Falcon, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker, all the famous crew. Let's see what we can do. So obviously with this deck, immediately we want to make sure that we have the Bespin system, which I did say we have. What does this give us? If you control opponent's characters and vehicles, deploy +1 to Cloud City locations. So you kind of want to make sure that you have good, strong presence here. Let's see what we have in the line of space stuff. So immediately I'm thinking I want something big that can battle, so I'm running Home 1. Home 1's very strong. It's basically the best equivalent you're gonna get to Executor. You definitely want to get at least one of these guys. Make sure you run it. Then I'm running 2 Millennium Falcon. Again, it's fairly cheap. It costs only 3, but it has 7 for your what am I talking about? For your attrition. You can add 2 pilots, 2 passengers, immune to attrition less than 5 if Han, Chewie, or Lando is piloting. It has 3 power, 4 maneuver, 6 hyperspeed, very fast. And you know, obviously, if you're gonna get like Han on this ship, then it's gonna be even better. And then for Bespin specifically, we are running 3 defense fighters. These guys are not unique, 3 dots, so you can have up to 3 of them in play. Very cheap again. These have a pilot on board already. Permanent pilot provides ability of 1 and adds 1 to power. They are independent, which is again going to be very important. Our independent locations will give these guys immune to attrition less than 4. Super good stuff. Adds 1 to power. May have 1 alien pilot. Power +2 at Bespin locations, so you're actually going to get a power 4, maneuver 2, hyperspeed 2 ship anywhere in Bespin. We want to be at Bespin, and then you can be carry this aboard a starship like a vehicle. Can be useful sometimes if you want to put these guys on. Excuse me, Home 1 should be having some of my coffee because this is an early morning shot. Amazing. So let's see. Then we did say we need to have some Cloud City locations. Oh, and I have Outrider as well. I forgot to say we have Outrider. Outrider is going to be important when we talk about the starting interrupt and all that stuff. So we have Cloud City guest quarters, a battleground site, going to generate us 2 force, which is important. Layout is deploy -2 here, and our opponent, if your opponent controls force drains, are -1 here. So even if they control this side, they still can't. It's basically like a 1-1 side in that case. We have the West Gallery, which is another battleground site, so easy to pull with the objective. Your blasters present may fire at targets at nearest related exterior level, so you can shoot from here to another exterior site. We have the North Corridor, another battleground site. If you control once per turn, you may use 1 force to cancel a force drain out of Cloud City site. Super good site. Then we have the Upper Plaza Corridor. This is not a battleground site. You can't pull this with the QMC side. During your move phase, you may move free between here and any Cloud City site. So this is like a good way. You can come here and you can go anywhere else. And that's the whole idea of it, that you don't need to go through all the... Come here, make sure that this is close to your docking bay, and then you can go to any of the sites. You realistically want to put this card right next to the docking bay. What is the docking bay? Again, it's this card. Super important card in the deck, docking bays. Talking about docking bays, we do have, because Home 1 is a huge ship, it will have its own docking bay. So this card travels with Home 1, sorry, wherever these go, these 2 cards go together, wherever you want to go in the system. And your docking bay transit from here is free. If you occupy, opponent may not move to this site. They can't come to Home 1. Then we have a Hoth Echo docking bay as well. It is another docking bay. Your docking bay transit from here requires 1 force, and our platform, our Cloud City platform, requires 1 force. So the important bit about docking bays, guys, and you want to make sure that any deck you run a number of docking bays. This particular deck, you can see I'm running 3 dark side deck. I run like 5 probably. Is because this is your best chance to get from system A to system B. Particularly if you have home 1 or executor, technically those ships can go anywhere. So what you can do is this whole interaction that, oh well, I'm doing my stuff here on Coruscant, and my opponent is doing their stuff there in Hoth, and we have no way to interact with each other. Well, that's where docking bays come in. So I got my Cloud City docking bay, and I'm gonna send my guy to move to this site. I'm gonna pay 1 force, and for 1 force my dude can go to the docking bay on any other docking bay that is put down in the game. Because how the game looks at this is you hire an independent person, alien, that's going to basically transport you from A to B, and the force is you pay them as much as the force requirement, which is super thematic. But it's, you know, unless you like, you know, read a lot into the rules, this could help a lot with like, okay, well just put in a couple of docking bay locations and make sure you can go there. What if you don't? What if your opponent is like, well, I don't want you to come here, I don't have a docking bay? Well, the thing is, every single location, every single docking bay will have a light side and a dark side equivalent. So even if your opponent doesn't want to run it, you could run it in your deck. Cloud City has a dark side docking bay as well, which has a slightly different art and all that stuff. You could always play those, but again, as I say, the best thing to do is run home 1 or executor and run the docking bay for those guys, because this ship can travel anywhere. It has a hyperspeed of 3, so if you look at the sector number of Bespin, which is 6, you can move up to 9 or down to 3 in your move phase with Hoth 1. And all the different systems must be lined up in their hyperspace route number. So that will allow you to, well, they don't have to be lined up, but, you know, obviously pay attention, because, you know, if you're at a 6 with home 1, you can go to a 7, 8, or 9, or another 6, a 5, 4, or a 3 number location. And let's say Hoth is, I don't know off the top of my head, but let's see what we got here. Ral tier is a 3, so you can go to Ral tier with Hoth 1, have a docking bay there, you can go down to Ral tier. Easy. Okay, so that's that. Now, the second most important bit is our starting interrupt. There's a number of these cards, at least 2 I know of, that came out in the OG sets, and I'm sure there's more in the virtual sets. But the one I tend to use is the Heading for the Medical Frigate, or what is it? Prepared Defenses, I think. Yes, Prepared Defenses for Dark Side. They do exactly the same. It's just one of them is Dark Side, one of them Light Side. You'll find this with a lot of the essential cards, that they will have them for both sides. So, Heading for the Medical Frigate, you can use it as a used interrupt, which is very rare that you would. It's just super good as a starting interrupt. But anyway, as a used interrupt, add 1 to your Battle Destiny just drawn for free. Or as a starting interrupt, again for free, deploy up to 3 effects if each of them deploys for free, is always immune to alter, and has deploy on table in his game text. And then you place this to your lost pile. The 3 effects I picked for the Quiet Mining Colony deck are these 3, which is Squadron Assignments, Keeping the Empire Out Forever, and this is a double card, which these cards came out in the Reflections sets. This is Battle Plan and Draw Their Fire. You can find these cards, just Draw Their Fire and just Battle Plan, but obviously this will give you both of those cards with no drawback really. And they're all deploy on table, they're all immune to alter, and they all are free to deploy. So let's start with Squadron Assignments. This came out in Death Star 2. During your deploy phase, you may reveal one unpiloted starfighter from hand to take its matching pilot character from your reserve deck, or vice versa, and deploy both simultaneously. And then reshuffle your reserve deck. So what this card allows us to do from the get-go, because you deploy this with your starting effect, and you deploy your starting effect after you deployed your objective, is that it allows us to reveal cards like Dash Randar. And Dash Randar refers to Outrider somewhere in his text, either here or here. Again, early card game. So you gotta forgive a few flaws. It's not gonna say, you know, pilot of Outrider, which they did actually fix in their card game that followed, which is Wars. So you will have, like, for example, piloting there is a keyword now, as you can see. But anyway, Dash Randar is the pilot of Outrider. So if you have Squadron Assignments, which you will, if you draw Dash Randar or you draw Outrider, you can search any of the other, depending which one you got in your hand. That's really good. Obviously, when these guys are deployed together, they will help each other out. So if you look at Outrider real quick, it has a deploy cost of 2, very cheap. It's a 3 power, 4 maneuver, 5 hyperspeed. Is also an independent ship, so you will get the buff of our objective. You can add 2 pilots and 1 passenger. Utini effect, which retrieves force, are immune to alter but are placed out of play when completed, while Dash or Libo piloting immune to attrition less than 4. So we get that immune to attrition less than 4 either way, but it's good to have the matching pilot, and just the fact that you can search for it is really good. And then Dash Randar, excuse me, is the power 3, ability 3, force attunes. Has a deploy cost of 3, adds 3 to power of anything you pilot, so your Outrider is going to be a 6 power ship. When piloting Outrider, draws 1 battle destiny if not able to otherwise, and once per battle may reduce power of 1 opponent's starships in same battle by power of Outrider for remainder of the turn. So super good. You will draw 1 battle destiny no matter what. If you can somehow increase the ability to 4, you will be drawing 2 battle destinies, because it says, no, sorry, I'm wrong, it doesn't add 1, but it makes sure that you draw 1 no matter what. So you don't need to have the ability 4 to draw the battle destiny if you got these 2 out. That's really, really, really cool. Okay, so that's what Squadron Assignments gives us, and you can start to play around with obviously having Wedge and having red, red 2, for example, which I do have somewhere here, I think. I'm not sure exactly where. We also obviously have, if I find him, we got Han Solo. So if we got Captain Han Solo in our hand, we can pull out the. No, we can't pull out because the Falcon is a freighter. It's not a starfighter. But Outrider is also a freighter, so we have to have somewhere. I know we got a red 2 somewhere. I'm not gonna find it. Anyway, let's move on. But you get a gist of it. Read the cards. It's very important you read the cards, because, again, Squadron Assignments allows you to pull out a starfighter or pull out its matching pilot. So have those X-Wings with their matching pilots in the deck. It's gonna work magic for you. Then keeping the Empire out forever. Again, same stuff you deploy on table is for free, immune to alter. If you control 2 Cloud City sites and occupy Bespin system, which hopefully will do, flip Quiet Mining Colony. While independent operations on table, it may not flip, and once per turn may search your force pile and take 1 card there into hand and reshuffle. So this card works magic with your objective. First of all, you don't need to have Bespin Cloud City and at least 2 Cloud City sites. You can just basically have 2 Cloud City sites and occupy Bespin system to flip. And as you did notice, we are not running Bespin Cloud City actually. because we have Keeping the Empire Out Forever in our one of our 3 effects that we can deploy at the beginning of the game. An effect that your opponent can't flip it back, which means even if you lose control, if your opponent controls best spin system or 3 Cloud City sides and or best spin Cloud City sectors, you will flip this back. That's not a problem when you got this guy out. And the fact that you can search your force pile, just basically have a look in general what you got there and pick a card from it, is very good. Very good. Again, just another card for free that we can draw. We don't have to wait till the end of the turn to draw our excess force pile up. We can just go in, have a look, and then we can stack a little bit. Look at what we have there, what we would maybe want to draw. In a battle plan and draw that fire, you may initiate battles for free. Very important, because to initiate a battle costs you 1 force. During a battle, you initiate each time opponent plays an interrupt. Opponent must first use 1 force, so their interrupts will cost more. You're taxing their interrupts. For the player to initiate a force drain, that player first must use 3 force unless the player occupies a battleground side and the battleground system. So again, when I was talking about our QMC makes our force drains a little bit more difficult, it's not a problem. We will actually ride that wave and have more cards that make it more expensive, because we want to get to the point where we flip independent operations, and by the time we flip to independent operations, we will occupy a battleground side, and we will occupy a battleground system, which will be best spin and maybe one of the docking bays or one of the Cloud City locations that we've talked about, and then we actually don't have to pay for our force drain. So it's almost like we first set up, get ready, and then we start to force drain a lot. So that's what the deck is trying to do, really. So so guys, when you're building your decks, try to build around an objective. There are many objectives in the game. They really do give you a sense of direction. They really do give you some extra spice. You can have Black Sun agents. You can have Jabba's Palace type of stuff. You can have things like this, which is not actually strictly related to the movie, but it is still very spicy for the movie. You can have Episode 1, and I'm sure there's more than enough in the virtual sets to go by with. So the 2 important things to remember, guys: starting interrupts and your keep forgetting what it's called. Your objectives. I hope this was somewhat helpful to any of you guys who want to get into Star Wars Decipher collectible card game. This card game ran for about 7 years, 6 years, but again, the independent players committee is pumping out virtual sets. It's all up to, you know, the recent stuff. Episode 9. I'm sure they got Mandalorian stuff out as well. So make sure you tune into my videos, make sure you subscribe, like, leave a comment below, and ask any more questions if you have regarding to this card game. But until next time, boss, Saiyan signing out. Peace out, YouTube.